Reporting on the games you love by people who love to game. The MMO Reporter Network. I want to talk about our latest piece of hardware that I've taken a look at, which is the BenQ XR3501 ultra widescreen monitor. Now, this is a 35-inch ultra widescreen monitor that has a 2560 by 1080 resolution with a 144 hertz refresh rate for DisplayPort, 60 hertz for HDMI. That's an HDMI thing, not a monitor thing. And best of all, it has a 2000R curvature. This thing is absolutely fucking beautiful. I absolutely love it. And I cannot tell you just how much I've enjoyed it and how sad I am that I'm packing it up and sending it away. So, a couple things before we get on to the actual use case for this monitor. It's got 2 HDMI ports, 1 display port, 1 mini display port, a line in, a line out, and a headphone port. No speakers on it in any way whatsoever. So that's your connections that you can get on the back. I've connected with both DisplayPort and HDMI. Cool thing about this, and this is with a lot of the ultra widescreen monitors, is that you can actually get picture-in-picture with the with a multitude of inputs on the back. You can assign them to do one input on the left, one input on the right. So if you've got some different inputs that you want to get set up, you can make that work. It'll treat each half of the monitor as a separate monitor.
So it's like having multi-monitor just all inside the same bezel.
Correct. Absolutely. So that's really nice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, I've been looking into this kind of monitor here for a while. I know Acer makes the X34 Predator, and Asus is coming out with a bit of a clone of the Predator and that kind of thing. And my looking into it has been, there's a few key features that I've been looking at. One is the high refresh, which clearly the BenQ has available, at least as part of the statistics of it. The other is high resolution. A lot of the higher end versions of these big 32, 34, 35 inch monitors do 1440p resolution, which means they've got a 1440 pixels vertically. And as well as the curve of the screen, and you get into other kind of more kind of stuff that's a little bit more personal choice, like color reproduction and black's depth, black's depth, and that kind of thing. So this screen here, like you mentioned, it's a 2560 by 1080 resolution, which is a smaller vertical resolution. What I've been reading is that there's a bit of almost kind of like a windscreen effect, where the outlines of the pixels become obvious in certain situations when you're viewing it. Did you find that with this monitor?
Not at all. And I'm actually just sitting here and I moved my mic, and I'm probably maybe 6 inches away from the monitor, and I'm really struggling to see the pixels at all. And I do have my glasses on, and if I go that close to some of my other monitors, I've got a Samsung here, I've got a Gateway on the other side here, and I've got an LG somewhere else. I do get that a little bit with those monitors, but this one, I haven't noticed that at all. And I that was one of the things that I was really looking for, because my other monitor can do 1440. And so I was comparing just quality of picture, and I really had a hard time noticing, other than more screen to UI ratio that the higher resolution will give you. I really didn't notice that much difference in just the quality of the picture itself between my 1440 and running this at 1080. So that was really nice. I didn't get the windscreen. I liked the higher refresh rate. No ghosting at all in anything that I played. I didn't play anything super action heavy on this. I think Mech Warrior Online may have been the most quick action. That's big mechs. But yeah, I'm trying to think anything else that Black Desert is quite graphically intensive. So that also looked beautiful. And the curve and the ultra wide. I've had an ultra wide before. I had an LG 29 UM57P. Which is a flat ultra wide screen, 29-inch ultra wide screen. I really enjoyed that as well. but the curve, just it's enveloping. Guild Wars 2 is my favorite, I think, to jump into, and Elite,
obviously. But the other aspect that's actually important that I forgot to mention when I was looking into this too is how the monitor handles the high refresh rates with the video card. There's two different standards out there. There's G-Sync for NVIDIA and FreeSync for AMD. Now, you've got an AMD card, if I remember correct, right?
I do, yeah.
Is this a G-Sync or a FreeSync monitor, or do you know?
I believe it's a G-Sync monitor, so I didn't get to experience the FreeSync.
So what that's supposed to be able to do for you is basically, as the refresh rate, as you're able to have a really high consistent frame rate, in order to kind of reduce the tearing that happens when you've got heavy action scenes and that kind of thing. And when I say tearing, it almost looks like kind of a blurring or ripping of textures as they move really quickly before they kind of snap into their regular form again. It's a really hard thing to describe with words, but if you've seen it, you probably would recognize it. But that's apparently a big thing, is kind of matching up when you're looking for a large monitor like this, is matching that kind of tearing reduction technology at high refresh compared to not.
Yeah, this doesn't have G-Sync or FreeSync. I just double-checked my notes here. So it does not have either, unfortunately.
So that's another piece to kind of be aware of, especially if you're running a really, really high-end machine that's going to consistently push 100 frames per second in the games that you play.
Right, and the I didn't notice any of that. For the games that I'm playing, Guild Wars 2, Elite Dangerous, Black Desert Online, Blade and Soul, all those games that I've been playing, Lotro as well, looked very nice on the ultra widescreen. It looked absolutely fantastic. Now I know that the Predator X34 has G-Sync. It does not have FreeSync. So if you've got a GeForce, that's that. But I'm wondering, Bill, the higher resolution and G-Sync, is that worth $700 to you? Because I know that you are amazingly and wonderfully conscious of the dollars that you spend.
So here's what I have to say about that. So this is still a $1,000 monitor in most cases. So you're already, even if you're going to discount the extra cost of going to a higher end monitor, you're still paying a lot of money to get into this monitor. Now, and in order to actually get good use out of the monitor, or to really kind of get the most out of it, you're already paying a lot of money into putting together a really beastly gaming system anyway. Like, you're not going to be able to just plug a big 35-inch monitor into your 5-year-old gaming PC that you've been struggling along with in a few older games and that kind of thing. You're just not going to have a good time doing that because of the higher resolution requirements and the fact that your computer just has to push more pixels, for a really simplistic way to describe it. So in that case, yes. If you're going to handle or do big screen gaming, and you really want to have that large 35-inch screen, 34-inch screen in front of you, I would happily pay a little bit extra money to make sure that I'm getting the best resolution. I'm getting the best the image possible for deep blacks and color reproduction and that kind of thing. I'd want to make sure that I've got technologies in there to reduce tearing and that kind of thing. Not necessarily because the features by themselves are necessarily worth an extra $700, but because I'm getting into that kind of category of monitor, it almost gets to the point where I don't want to say cost is the money doesn't matter, but it's approaching that. I mean, it's still worth it to be cost conscious and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But you have to know going in that you're approaching an expensive proposition, and there's no cheap way to do this that you're not going to regret later down the line. That's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah. For me, I think that being able to run it on I've got an R9 290X as my video card, an i7, an old one, 2600K, and it worked. Black Desert, I think, was the hardest I made it work in a while, and I was not having horrible issues. I was getting decent frame rates in the 40s, 50s on Black Desert with everything maxed out. So I was doing okay, and it looked really fantastic. I do miss, although I didn't have any tearing, I would really have liked to have had either G-Sync or FreeSync, so that if I went out and spent $1,000 on this monitor, I knew that my next video card that I would get would be based around whatever technology the monitor would have, because it would give me that boost and lack of tearing. That being said, I haven't had any issues with it, so it's worked really well. For those of you that are wondering if a curved monitor is worth it, if you've got the funds, absolutely. There is something to be said for the immersion of a curved monitor. I wasn't sure if that was actually going to be the case before I tried it, and I can hands down say now that for a computer environment, this is absolutely perfect. Few things you're going to want to keep in mind if you do look at this monitor. The inputs that you've got are on the back. They're a little bit hard to get to out of the way, and the stand does not go up and down at all, so you are stuck at whatever height. I've actually got a little monitor stand on my desk. I bring it up a little bit higher because that's what I like, but it does have a decent amount of tilt to make that work for you, so you can make that work as best you can, but it doesn't have any sort of raise or lowering possible on that stand, which for $1,000 would have been nice.
Yeah. So if you, in my opinion, if you're looking for just screen real estate and just big, this is probably a good way to go. But the other thing to keep in mind is this is a fairly new class of monitor. They haven't really been making a lot of big screen, curved screen computer monitors in that 30 to 35 inch range. So this is probably something that you're going to see more of. I know, again, like we said off the top, Asus is making them now. Dell makes them with their Ultra whatever. I should know that off the top of my head. I have one, but Dell, Acer, I mean, a lot of the kind of the big names are starting to make these now, and then within a year or two, you're probably going to see more refinements and maybe some killer features and that kind of thing. So if you're a discerning consumer, it might even be a good time to just sit back and see what happens. But if all you need is just real estate, this is actually spec-wise a pretty decent solution.
And I don't think anybody who spends money on this is going to be disappointed in what they get in the end.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching the video, everybody. Don't forget to check out all the other podcasts at mmoreporter.com or by clicking on any of the links here. And please check out our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/mmoreporter. Thanks, everyone, and see you in game.